All right. We are now live in person once again. Been a while since it's been a while since an episode has even been recorded with a camera other than I think a Zoom call, right? What episode did we last do that? Now I'm curious. Da-da-da. If anyone wants to know what it's like before the podcast is getting set up, it's just me sitting here making sure the audio waves are all good and just looking back at old episodes. Yeah, I think the last episode that we did that was recorded not on Zoom was episode 68. Dang. Yeah. Episode 68. We're so tired. Nice. That was the last episode. I think Christian was here in person. Then we went to Zoom. And then I went by myself starting episode 76. Christian popped up once again for episode 78. And it's been me since then up until this episode, which is episode 83. So welcome everyone to the 83rd episode of the Art of Awesomeness podcast. It's very good to have you all here today. And we'll just jump right into it. I was kind of curious though, because I didn't know what episode we last recorded like this with a physical camera. So since I haven't done it in a while, hopefully no technical difficulties this time around. I can see the audio waves in front of me, so I know that's good. I can see the red dot on the camera. That's good. So we are all good and ready to go. All right, so this episode is going to be the final one in regards to the recent Instagram poll that I put up on my Instagram regarding things that people struggle with in their life that they'd like to fix. I got a total of 3 responses, 2 of which were the previous episodes, which was financial stability, and then what was the other one? Compulsive lying. That was the other one. Compulsive lying, and then financial stability. And the final one is what we're going to touch on today. I'm probably going to post more on my Instagram just to get more feedback from you guys of what you would actually like to see, because I feel like I do a better job going through episodes and content whenever there's actually someone reaching out to me with a particular issue that they would like covered, because I feel like it's a bit more personal. I feel like I can actually, I guess, relate a bit more to the topic, even if I don't struggle with it myself, which many of them, are just kind of common to people, right? So of course I experience the same kind of things that most of you guys do anyways, but whenever I get like an Instagram DM from someone who is, or like a response to a poll saying, hey, can you make an episode on this? That gives me a bit more motivation and maybe passion in actually making the episode, just because I feel like it's a bit more personal, and I know that at least someone out there is hopefully going to get something out of it that feels a bit more personal, I guess. So, oh yeah. Gosh, I always forget this. The national days, the first order of business. I always want to jump right into the episode. I forget the national days. Let's see, how many are there today? I got my little handy dandy notebook right now. Kind of like, what was it, Blue's Clues? Yeah. Okay, so national days are going to be Coconut Cream Pie Day. So if you're into that sort of thing, if you like coconut, I don't know, coconut's not bad. But if you're into coconut cream pies, then by all means, make yourself a coconut cream pie. Second is National Have a Coke Day. I don't drink Coke. I don't think you should drink Coke either, because I don't think it's that beneficial to drink Coke. I know some people really like it and they can't stop drinking it, but I don't know. I never got into it. I've never had it, actually. The closest I've ever came to actually drinking Coke was when Christian one time gave me a Coke Tic Tac, which I promptly spat out. So that's the closest I've ever come to doing it. Student Nurse Day, National Student Nurse Day. So if you're a student who's going into nursing, thanks for looking out for other people. I know that that's a difficult profession to get into, but obviously a lot of time in school. So if you are studying to be a nurse, good on you. And if you are passionate about it and you do want to assist people in that way, then best of luck to you. And then, of course, last but not least, happy National Mother's Day, which is today. I did toy around with the idea of making this episode like a Mother's Day special or something like that, but I ended up deciding to just finish the list of requests that I already got, just so I didn't get off track on those. And so, maybe in the future we'll make a Mother's Day kind of themed episode. But this Mother's Day, just make sure that you are appreciative towards the mothers who are in their children's lives. All of us have them. So I think it's best if you show some appreciation to the people who raised you, especially your mother, who gave birth to you. So happy National Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. I hope that you guys are having a good day. And children, make sure you reach out and spend some time with your moms, because that's definitely important. But now we can actually get into the meat of the episode. And this episode is pretty interesting. Again, this is a anonymous poll. I don't think that the person who sent this in would really be that upset about me saying their name, but I'm not going to anyways, because I did say that it was going to be anonymous, so I'm going to keep it that way. But to the person who sent in this question, you know who you are, you're awesome. And the question, again, was the same as the previous two episodes. The question was, what is something that you currently struggle with in your life that you would like to fix? And the final response that we got for that question was working out, because I am mentally drained. So, issue is that they would like to work out, but they can't because they're mentally drained. Okay. So, the first kind of thing that came to mind when I read this question out loud was, there's kind of a weird cause and effect thing that's going on here, because obviously there's 1,000 reasons why people don't want to work out or be physically active, and I understand most of them. Mentally drained, I can see where that can come into play, because you're just, maybe there's so much swimming in your head that I can't bring myself to work out. I can't bring myself to lift any weights, or I can't bring myself to, I don't know, do some calisthenics or go for a run or something like that. Like, I understand the mentally drained aspect of it. I'm a student too. I definitely get mentally drained from school and from work, and just from, young adult life in general. There's a lot of things that you got to think about as you're starting to transition into adulthood. There are a lot of things that hit you really hard, really fast. That I don't know if school and things of that nature kind of really, help you to prepare for. So there's a lot going on in our lives right now. The majority of the people who watch this podcast, demographically, are students or young people, kind of in college, or just starting out into the workforce. Basically, people from the ages of, like, I think it's 18 to 24. Like 70% of you who listen are like 18 to 24. So that's kind of the demographic that we're working with here. And then, so I understand the whole mentally drained thing. I know school can be mentally drained. I mean, I just saw on Instagram today, one of these kids I went to school with. I don't know what college he goes to, but he posts funny stories all the time about whatever he's whatever kind of troubles he's going through in school. And one of the things he posted today on his Instagram was his Canvas app on his phone, because a lot of students, myself included, use Canvas to turn in assignments and take quizzes and exams. And he he basically said, I can't wait for the day that I can delete this app from my phone and just forget about homework and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, I feel you, man. So I understand the mentally drained. But the weird cause and effect thing here is that working out, right, helps with mental fatigue, right? Which is getting another way we could say that is getting burnt out, right? When you feel burnt out, there can be that tendency, again, with plenty of other excuses that say, I don't want to work out because I'm feeling a little bit drained, a little bit worked out. But in my experience, working out in any capacity really helps with the mental drainage. It helps with the mental fatigue. It helps with being burnt out. Because a lot of that feeling of being mentally drained is being very lethargic and very just kind of, you don't really want to lift another finger. When your brain's crunked out, your body kind of follows suit. But what's interesting is that I found that when working out, it kind of revamps the brain and refreshes it in a sense. Kind of like when you refresh a computer. If the computer is acting slow, the internet's not connecting, if you refresh the computer or turn it on and turn it back off again, that's kind of what working out does to your brain in my experience. Now, I'm not saying to destroy yourself and to do some crazy, expert advanced level workout, to just crush yourself or something like that if you're really mentally drained. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that being physically active can assist you in your mental troubles, right? Because what happens when you exert physical energy is your body releases dopamine into your system. You get those endorphins flowing. That's a feel good. Those are feel good hormones. And so when you work out, I know for me, after a good run, no matter how stressed I was when I started running, I feel far better when I get back home, right? And I'm hot, I'm tired, I'm sweaty, my legs are in excruciating pain. The next day I might feel sore, but my mind feels like a huge weight has been taken off of it. And so an example I'll give is, and that's why I was really excited to do this particular topic today, was because just yesterday I was feeling that kind of mental weight resting on me. I felt that kind of mental fatigue and mental drainage. For me right now, as of the time of recording this, I'm going through finals. I know that the person who sent in this question is going through things similar. Their life is a very busy one. And I know that for many of you, your lives may be just as, if not more busy than the person who sent in this, although I will say that the person who sent in this question is a pretty busy person compared to most. But, I was feeling that weight yesterday of all of these things that I have to think about, things that are happening, big things that are happening in the next few weeks, in the next few months, by the end of this year. I mean, even on just personal things that are coming up in my life right now that are kind of making me a bit mentally weary. So I was just kind of sitting down with all of this, which is what most people tend to do when they feel that mental drainage. They just want to kind of sit down and ponder. Maybe for me, I'm an overthinker, and I know a lot of people who tune in are overthinkers, and so that can do more harm than it does good by just kind of sitting with those emotions. So I think it was earlier that day, I was wearing like a pair of shorts and shoes, and my dad said it looked like I was going running. He said, he thought I was going for a run, and I was like, oh no, I'm just wearing shorts, and I like wearing shoes in the house. Not typical Asian family, but and but anyways, that gave me the idea later that day to go on a run, which I have not run professionally, meaning I haven't been like in track and field since I think like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So it's been a while since I've run professionally, and the last time I went on a legit run was a few months ago, I think. So I have not run in a while. I very much so enjoy it. It's definitely one of my favorite forms of exercise. It's the one with which I'm most familiar, but I haven't done it in a while. And so I kind of just started off. I got outside and I just started walking just a few blocks from my house, and then I picked up the pace and started running. And I ended up running like 2 miles without stopping, just running at night. It was nice and cool out. The sun was down, and I just ran through our local creek that we have here, kind of along the creek, on a kind of sandy dirt path. And I ran like a good 2 miles without stopping, which was kind of a nice feeling to do. You know, sometimes when you run, you stop and you walk a little bit. I just ran the whole thing. And seeing as I haven't really done something like that in a while, I felt good about it. And at the end of the run, I remember right when I was reaching the end of my run, I just ran as hard as I could to just finish off strong. You know, that's something that we would do in track. Whenever you finish a race and you're finishing a lap, you want to just push it as hard as you can at the very end. And that's what I did. I ran uh, pretty much at my top speed, as fast as I could. I mean, I sprinted as hard as I could after running that 2 miles, and it felt really good to just get that energy out. And by the end of it, by the time I was kind of stretching and walking home from this run, which was like maybe a block or two, that mental weight and that kind of mental fatigue that I'd felt prior was completely gone. Right, I was physically tired. Right, my lungs were exerted, my legs were sore, but I was sweating and stuff like that, and I was warm. But at the same time, the mental fatigue that I felt was far more bearable. It was not something that affected me as much as it was earlier. So this question is kind of like, well, I can't work out because I'm mentally fatigued. What I'm kind of saying here is that working out may fix a lot of the mental fatigue that you feel, a lot of the mental drainage that you feel very well might be fixed by working out. You just have to actually get yourself to do it. I think that starting is probably the hardest thing. Like, actually, if you're going on a run, the hardest thing is putting on your shoes and actually stepping out the front door. That's the hardest part of the run. Once you're running, in for me, I kind of go into cruise mode after a while. Like, starting the run can, take a little bit of willpower, but after a while, you're just you kind of forget that you're running. I'm just thinking and looking around at my surroundings. It was a beautiful night last night. The moon was beautiful. I was looking around. It was nighttime. It's kind of very peaceful, not a whole lot of people out. It was just a very calming, kind of obviously exerting run, but I kind of went into cruise mode after a while, and after a while, it was far more enjoyable than a burden. But the hardest part is getting out the front door and tying your shoes and getting everything ready to go. Right, that's the hard part. Once you get going, it's not really as much of a chore, I think, as most people think it is, because you're releasing endorphins the whole time, so it's a feel good experience, right? It's physically taxing, it's physically hard, but mentally it's good. It feels good, and it's just good for you. So if you're feeling mentally drained, just whatever mental energy you have left, you might not be a runner like me, but if you just step out the front door and walk around your local area, right? You go on a short 20-30 minute walk, jog. I would recommend run if you can. Just run for a while. Run as much as you can. And you don't have to sprint everywhere, right? You can do a light run, right? But exert some physical energy, right? Whatever mental state you have left and can afford to spend on something, try spending that last bit of mental energy on just getting to the point of working out, and then your body should take over after that, because it's just going to feel good once you start working out. I can almost guarantee you that. The starting is just the hard part, again, in my experience. Now, working out is going to reduce stress. A lot of the time when you are mentally drained, the mental fatigue and mental drainage that we feel is often accompanied by a certain level of stress, right? Because, if you're a student, you might be thinking about all the assignments that you have to do. You may be concerned about grades. You might be concerned about relationships, people in your life. Oftentimes, mental fatigue is caused by a large mental weight or a large mental stress, right? It might be because you just overworked your brain. Maybe you've been studying for like 5 hours straight and just took like a 2 hour exam. That could very much be the case. Um, but a lot of the time, it can also just be because you've got these mental burdens on you, right? Of maybe not the test that you just did, but the test that's coming up next week or the exam you have next month. Those things might weigh on you a little bit. So, in those cases, again, working out reduces stress. Now, I use the example of running because, again, that's what I'm most familiar with. But I mean, this can come in multiple different forms, right? I mean, weightlifting is not something that I have a crazy amount of access to. Like, I don't have I don't have a garage gym. I would very much like one. I know that the first thing I'm gonna do when I am in the position where I can uh, live in my own space and actually own my own domicile, so to speak, is I'm going to invest into a garage gym. I know that I'm definitely going to do that. But for the time being, right, I don't own the house that I live in, and I don't have just a swath of weightlifting equipment at my disposal. I don't really have the current funds to be going to a gym monthly or something like that, like a gym subscription membership kind of a thing. So in my case, I basically just work with what I have. I have a pair of dumbbells, I have a punching bag in my garage, and I have plenty of space outside to go running. So I those are kind of my big three options right now, but those aren't bad options, right? Work with what you've got. If you have a pair of good shoes, go run in them. If you have a punching bag, that's all that you don't even have to go anywhere if you have a punching bag. You could, if you just have it in your garage, I mean it's already in your house. So make use of those things if you feel like you need them. And I think that by working out, you're going to reduce the amount of mental fatigue and reduce the amount of mental drainage that you feel on a day-to-day basis because you're just going to feel that much more refreshed by the workout. I will also say that on days that you work out, your sleep is much better. Because I ran at night last night, and when I got home, I took a shower. Right after I got home from running, and immediately just took a cold shower because I was really obviously hot from the run, and I immediately fell asleep. And sometimes I have difficulty falling asleep. Not all the time, but sometimes, right? And I know a lot of people sometimes have difficulty falling asleep, and because they can't get a good night's rest, they're mentally tired and kind of lethargic when they wake up, and they can't kind of carry that with them throughout the day. And then they do all the tasks that they have to do for that day, and then it just drains them even further mentally. So a lot of it does stem from exercise, but also sleep. But the cool thing about a good workout is that if you do a good workout, it's gonna make you more tired, and you're not gonna have trouble sleeping. If you really worked yourself to a good point of exhaustion, it's not going to be hard to fall asleep. If you go on a long run, if you lift a heavy weight, if you box for 30 minutes or 45 minutes and go hard, falling asleep is not going to be an issue for you. And if you get that good sleep in, you're going to feel mentally refreshed, right? Because sleep is when we replenish our bodies, right? Both physically and mentally. That's your rebuilding time. That's your recharging time. So if you can maximize the amount of sleep that you're getting, right, that can help you in a lot of ways, and working out can aid with that. Now, those are all kind of reasons that I had written down here as to why working out helps with your mental drainage, right? With your mental fatigue. But I kind of had the sense, reading between the lines, I kind of had the sense that this question was more in regards to, okay, I want to work out, but I can't because I'm mentally drained, right? So it's kind of the mental drainage is preventing me from working out. My kind of philosophy is that if you can force yourself to just start working out a little bit, it's going to help with the mental fatigue and it'll allow you to go to sleep quicker, to allow you to recharge better, so you'll be less mentally drained in the morning and you can start the day better. Get on it and work out. But if you don't, if it's more of a timing thing, I would say just don't worry about working out these crazy hours, right? Just work out in manageable chunks throughout the day. And so maybe that means like just in your room in a solitary place, you knock out some push-ups, you knock out some, I know in school we did burpees. Those are always a fun thing to do. If you have a jump rope, if you go in your garage, you can jump rope for a little bit. Just things that you have around, right? And for a lot of us, when we don't really have a lot of equipment at our disposal, like me, for example, and I know plenty of you, um, a real easy thing to do is just calisthenics, right? You can do push-ups anywhere, right? As long as you can fit your body in a space, you can do push-ups. You can do sit-ups, right? You can do planks. A plank, you really don't even have to move your body. You're just trying to hold a single position and do that for a minute and you'll feel the burn, right? But you can do that practically anywhere, right? Get your phone, set your timer for a minute, set it down, get into a plank position and hold it for that minute, right? Do those push-ups or burpees or sit-ups, anything that you can do to get the blood flowing in your body, to accelerate your heart rate, to really just work yourself. And do that in manageable chunks, right? This doesn't have to be some elaborate workout where you have tons of, sets and reps planned out. If you really are that busy of a person and you just, you're kind of in that position where you don't have the means to do a lot of workouts that you'd like to do or want to do what you can with what you have. And that can be a very freeing thing when you're able to just kind of, when you're like, oh, I don't have to have a set time in the day. And if that one time is compromised for whatever reason, because I have a meeting here or something like that, then it's done with. If you can find little spaces throughout the day, 35-minute, just chunks of your day where you don't have anything and you have some free time and you can knock out a couple of exercises, I mean, that's something, right? It might not be the most amazing, life-changing workout you've ever done in your life, but it's something, right? And something is better than nothing. It's not optimal, right? But it's something. And I think that's worthwhile in and of itself. So try to work out in manageable chunks. And, again, with these manageable chunks, you have to kind of figure out in your life, right? If you're really feeling mentally drained, being mentally drained is not something that you can stay at consistently, right? It's not a good mental state to be in for prolonged periods of time, right? So is there anything, this is the kind of the question I would pose if someone were just asking me this in person and they wanted a bit of advice on it. I would just ask them, what can they cut out of their life or cut out of their routine that could make space for working out? Because if you really want to do something, you can find the time for it, right? If you really want to do it, you'll find time. And so I would say, look at your daily routine, look at what you do on a day-to-day basis, really just kind of analyze your life for a second. Just question it, analyze it, and then see what you can replace with a quick workout session or a long one, if you're able to cut out enough time. Because again, I know the person who wrote this is a legitimately very busy person. Some people just like making excuses, but I can pretty much assure you that this person is definitely seriously mentally drained and seriously taking on quite a bit of things all at once. So one, I commend this person for doing all of this crazy work and trying to make the most out of themselves. I mean, you're doing awesome in what you're doing. Um, so I'm not trying to mitigate, or what's the word? Kind of put down what you're doing, right? I'm not saying that what you're currently doing is a waste of time necessarily, but is there anything that is maybe taking the priority out of your life from being in good kind of physical condition that would make you feel better, right? Because again, like this person, I will say they play soccer, right? So I imagine that when you're playing soccer, right, after you train and you work out for that sport, you probably are physically drained, but I'm willing to bet that there's a good chance that mentally you feel pretty good. You have those endorphins flowing, you feel pretty good after a good game, or a good training session, good conditioning session. And so just make time for those kinds of things. If you are able to analyze your life and just look at what you can cut out to make time for what you want to do. Because if you really want to do something like working out, you can find the time to do it. I can almost assure you. But, sometimes it might not be in the most optimal way, you know? You might just have to do it in little manageable chunks throughout the day. Um, but I mean, just simple things, going on a run is a great way to exert some physical energy, right? All you need is space and yourself, and you're good. Push ups, sit ups, planks, all you need to do is have a room that's big enough to fit you, and you're good to do those things, right? And you need 30 minutes, right? I went on like a 2 mile run. I think it took me less than half an hour to do that, right? So it didn't take me long to get in a good solid workout to where I was, sweating, my legs were sore. It was a good workout, but it did not take me long at all. It took me probably less time than it takes to record a podcast episode. So it was definitely something that was manageable that I could do, and it made the mental weight that I felt prior far more manageable, and it made it almost kind of obsolete, because when you're working out, you really can only really focus on what you're doing in the moment, right? If you're punching a punching bag, you're pretty focused on just punch on the next punch, right? When you're running, you're focused on where you're going to put your next step. Like for example, when I went on that run, I don't really like to just follow the sidewalk. If I can, I'll kind of go off trail. So there's this one kind of a dirt field that we have kind of near the creek, and it runs right alongside the sidewalk. So I just sidestepped over a bush from the sidewalk into this field, and I ran in the dirt in this field for a little while, for maybe like a quarter of a mile. I ran that, but just things to kind of keep the workout interesting, and you know, keep your mind on the workout and off of these other things. And I guarantee you that if you can make some time, even while being a little bit mentally drained, working out is definitely going to be worthwhile, because it's going to relieve you from a lot of the mental fatigue. It's going to, in most cases, cause you to sleep far better and allow your sleep to be a lot more rejuvenative. And if you can cut some little things out of your life here and there to make little incremental chunks of time where you can exert some physical energy to make yourself feel better, I think it's completely worth it. I know that the person who sent this in is a really busy person. I completely understand that. But if working out is something that you want to do, and it's something that I know and you probably know as well will help you out a great deal, I can't think of a better reason to get into it from that position. If working out is maybe something you struggle with because of your mental fatigue, but I can almost guarantee you that working out will help solve said mental fatigue. So again, I know working out is not the easiest thing in the world because it's work. You're exerting your body physically, often to its limits. But it feels great by the end, and you're really only helping yourself at the end of the day. So that's kind of all I had to say on working out as something that you struggle with in your life because you're mentally drained, right? Wanting to work out is something I know is on a lot of people's bucket lists, but make it manageable for yourself. I didn't really go into specific, reps and sets and times and stuff like that, just because I know that everyone's life is very different, and that I couldn't possibly accommodate for every single situation that everyone has who's listening right now. So I just kind of went over some general philosophies and principles that hopefully help motivate you to, enact some changes into your life that can help you to combat mental fatigue and get in better physical condition, which will in turn lead you to be more mentally sound and stable going forward. So that's pretty much all I have to say on that for the time being. But again, thank you to the person who sent in that question. I greatly appreciate the input of everyone who answers the Instagram polls that we have going. They kind of look like this. I don't know if you can see that. But pretty much that is the end of this episode. We do, of course, have the verse of the day, which I have right here. Okay, so this is Proverbs 31. Yeah. Proverbs 31:30, which reads, "Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised." Which I figured is a good verse for Mother's Day. Virtuous women are women who, according to the Bible, fear the Lord. She shall be praised. And, a lot of the things that maybe people prop up in our culture about women, mothers sacrifice a lot, a great deal, emotionally, I would say mostly. Just, I have a mother, and, being a college age student, who's going out into the world, and, Christian, I know, his mom, have to deal with the fact that, their kids grow up and leave the home. And obviously they've done their absolute best at raising said children. And so, it can be a big mental weight for a lot of mothers, especially, again, the majority of the people who watch this podcast and tune into it are college age people who are leaving their homes and going to different places. Maybe some of you have already left. And so, I would just say, for the emotional sake of your mothers and for the love that you have towards your mothers, make sure you reach out to them and you thank them for what they've done for you in your life. And, some of you, maybe, you're out there and you say, well, I don't have the best mother. Again, people have different situations. Maybe you don't have the best relationship with your parents or your mother in specific. In that instance, I would say if you are a woman who does not have a particularly good mother, or a mother that's worth necessarily looking up to, strive to be that in your own life. Should you ever become a mother, I think it's a beautiful thing when people are able to overcome, say, past traumas done unto them by their parents, and they in turn become a good parent. Because they want to be a good example for their children. So, to all those mothers out there, I hope that you have a good Mother's Day. To all you future mothers out there, to all you women who are listening who are in all likelihood going to bear children yourself, definitely look to the good mothers in this world who have done a good job, and look to them for guidance and wisdom, and praise them on this day that's been set apart to praise the mothers, because they do a lot. They do a lot for I know I will say that my mom does a lot for me to help me to be the best person that I can, especially dealing with a bunch of, adult things, now that, they don't teach you in school, unfortunately. But, my mom has been great. My dad too, but I'm just saying mom for the sake of Mother's Day. But yeah, praise your moms, spend some time with them. And that's all I got to say on that. Thank you guys for tuning in to the 83rd episode of the Art of Awesomeness podcast. God, I almost butchered my own podcast name there. Thank you for tuning in to episode 83. I will see you guys next time on the Art of Awesomeness podcast. Until then, stay tuned. Take care.